So today's mo was 3-2, which is not a very good one, but it said at the end, it basically about people foisting off their problems on somebody else. A lot of things, I don't want to get down into that, copyright issues here, so just generalizing. But at the end it said, prayers to Simamuka could be helpful. Simamuka severs a lot. She has her symbols that she keeps beating so that it dissipates the resonance of accumulated things. Today is my food stamp day, and I hear some people out there, I heard the word mealy mouth beggar. And so, all of these people that are I don't know, bold-faced grifters is what you call them, that think it's their God-given duty to intercept anything that anybody would want to give me. I have been separated from my biological family and their unimaginable wealth, and from which they pay taxes and generate jobs. And those taxes pay for what I receive. And it's not that I don't know what they would give me otherwise, but they are upset about, the condition of this place. And so that's the kind of thing. Everything I say comes across like the words of a mealy-mouthed beggar. So we got to talk about the kind of people. I want to talk to the people that say what they can and can't do around here. I grew up under the whip. I was in a Catholic home after the age of 18, 19, because I was a little person, and they were giving me growth hormones because they felt that was better damage control for them than to admit that I'd been generated in a lab and that they had deliberately caused an abnormal birth and that they had been experimenting on me. They wanted to obscure my background, and so I was given to this very abusive, very sexually aggressive person. I was told to call him Dad, and he would whip me while I was doing homework. He would whip me while I was doing housework. He would whip me a whole bunch of times, tell me that I needed to get up and do something while I was in extreme pain, and then whip me while I was doing it and say he was not, because he was using a poison gas. Tell everybody I was crazy, tell everybody I was lazy. This was during the 1980s when actual children never did housework. Not if they were going to be anybody respected. And this, in our town, it was very stigmatizing to do any work at all. And none of this work, none of the volunteering that I did was done in my own name. I somehow learned Latin, and my school didn't teach Latin. So it was one of those things where the situation, if I had been in a Buddhist country, somebody would have. One of the things that they do in a Buddhist context that is the habit of the emanations of my husband, is that when they see someone who talked into getting braces to remove the visual, people would have been really mad at mean to me because of my overbite, and then when my braces came off, they filed down this tooth to make it look like I had sharpened my tooth so that I could draw blood on a monk. And I didn't know what that was, and I don't know who told them, but they were very knowledgeable about Himalayan culture. And so when I show up and they see that, and they're, you're a bad person. And it's bad enough. My hair coloration is not that bad. There's a lot of people with this hair coloration in monasteries, but my eye coloration is kind of a problem. And but they would go around and they would encourage. They would say, this one is so obedient. Why don't we give them some practices and put them in a monastery? I was watching some videos from the Pukar Monastery near Ladakh or in Ladakh. And they're just a few guys. They're very poor. The place is very rustic, but they get together and they're able to do things. And one of the monks, his appearance was replaced with that of my guru for a while. May have been somebody visiting, or may have been somebody who's there who resembles him. And so watching that behavior, and these are people that are obedient enough, and they can do the chants for everyone, and everyone benefits from these chants because they have faith and because they believe in these things. And so I was doing my chants this morning and doing my thing, feeling like people were watching me rather than follow my instructions, to find the instructions in the books that I was using. And then I gave you the instructions that are not in the book in these videos. And I told you about how some of my ancestors, they would just, talk to the sky, talk to the rocks. And if you walked up while they were doing that and announced your presence or just sat down respectfully, you could learn from them while they were doing that and even engage with them directly. But if you snuck into their house, if you viewed them unawares, if you hid in the bushes and watched them, nothing that you saw them do would be of benefit to you. And they just don't listen because they don't have faith. Why do you give the offerings? Why do you make the movements? Because it looks cool, because it'll make you social, because it'll get you, screwed? I don't know. But the worst reason is because it's making money. I mean, there are, in the non-duality, the ultimate, my husband, my guru, was the most ultimately non-dual person anybody knew, who was within parameters of any kind of dharma, was not just utterly chaotic. And a lot of people made use of him for that on many different levels. He had some pretty extreme things on his resume. But some of this was possible because he was a king. Others was possible because he was royally involved with other places in different roles. And people would say, well, we're like kings, but you're not kings. So this is a pretty discursive video, but it's pretty depressing that I think my landlady was approached by people, because she's also a marshal, that people trying to speak for these faiths and these books we're using the same things. The only thing she should say to us is words of gratitude. And we've all heard those words before. The only thing I'm going to hear from her is gratitude, and it's just never going to be enough. She can just say she's grateful to the end of time, and that's the only thing that I will ever hear from her that I would regard, and I'm not even going to regard it because of all the other things that I've heard. The place smells like poop. I don't want to hear that. It's bad enough I have to smell it. They say as they put all of the maintenance money in their pocket, they pocketed $60 million was spent on 350 apartments, or was it 250 apartments? $60 million was spent on renovating 250 apartments. I want to show you what those renovations are like. Look at this. Do you see this? They made this place a roach trap. The shims are still there. These are used. I had to tape that, and this no longer works. The floor has bubbles in it. This kick plate down here came off. It wasn't even glued. There was no glue, just brads. Oh, God. Let me see here. That is an open hole to a lateral line. We have to have a dehumidifier in here because it's an open hole to a lateral line, and the HVAC wasn't drained properly. That dehumidifier should be on 35. But it has a carbon monoxide sensor in it so that it doesn't go beyond, it doesn't generate carbon monoxide. So it is chugging in there. So when people say that my $967 a month and my $63 in food stamps and the Medicaid that I can't use because I can't cross town to get new glasses is being a mealy-mouthed beggar. When I have to share this place with everyone who's doing personal favors to lawmakers off the books, who have had their records put aside, shall we say, it's depressing. It is depressing. And it gets sad, and these are things that I have to think about. But when people come up here and they say that they represent what I have put my life into, and they say I need to be grateful to them, and they have no faith in any of it. It's how they make their living. They are really, 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 really lucky, because I can grab them across here, pull their face off with my fingers.